Hello everyone, it is now time for the 7th day of the 5th Custom Mail-In Tournament. And in the first group, it consists of Luna, Bobby, Steve, and Lando. And if I recall correctly, Lando is actually a driver representing Arlo, a fan favorite racer. So far they do have the lead, even with that little decor on the hood of their vehicle, which I believe is a dog. It doesn't seem to be affecting them at all, but let's see what happens when they go across the jump. They flip around, but they're going almost just as fast. And they grab an easy first win, finishing with 11.32. So far the fastest time is Scale Racing, who at one point finished with 11.07. I think they ended up breaking their own record after breaking the original. So you know they mean business. But we have a non-finisher who actually got stuck even going around the first turn way near the top of the track. I believe that is Steve up there. While everyone else was at least able to get across the waterfall jump, which, by the way, the gap at that jump has been shortened, hopefully allowing more people to get across and finish properly. But that was Lando finishing in first, Bobby finishing in second, Luna in third. Let's see if Steve can do a little bit better here. It could be the length of the vehicle, throwing them off as they go around those bends. But for now, Lando out in front once more. And they haven't had much contention from the other racers whatsoever. It's like once they get that lead, they don't lose it. But as I say that, they flip over on their backs, and the other racers are working their way around them. Maybe it'd be better if sometimes during moments like that, I should not say much. Because I think they just got jinxed. Steve, however, was able to get further down the track, but once again gets stuck on a turn. This time I believe that's the second one on the track. So they did at least improve, if nothing else. But definitely not the way Lando wanted to end up. Which means Lando will also still not be undefeated. We have not had anyone move on to the next phase of the tournament, winning every single race they've been in up to this point. So let's see if that was a fluke for Lando or if that will happen again in the third race after a fantastic start by them. Bobby now, as a result, holds the lead in points. Let's see what happens in this race now. Lando gets an early lead. Now the challenge will just be to hold on to it. To go around the bend without much of an issue. We definitely saw Steve get around that first turn again. Let's see if they can get all the way to the end this time. Lando goes to make the jump relatively clean, actually. Bounces off the wall slightly, but they still have a lot of speed. And they almost tie the record that was set at 11.07, finishing just shy of that time. But they do manage to finish in first again, which helps them significantly. Meanwhile, Steve got all the way down to the bottom level of the track, but was actually going the opposite direction by the time the camera found them. And you can see how far back they are, because it takes a while for them to show up. In fact, by the time the other races started finishing, Steve was only at the jump. Part of me also wonders how close the top of that dog is to the ceiling of the waterfall jump, because I almost feel like they'd clip it on the way through. But they do grab first place again. They don't have the lead in points, but as long as they finish in the top two, they will be able to progress and try for better points results later. But they do take the lead again. Bobby is not too far behind them, actually. But it looks like Steve is going to get stuck on that turn up there. But maybe they'll have just enough to get over it, but we'll have to check on them later on. Lando, however, does make the jump, staying off the walls as the lanes merge together, and they finish with a great time of 11.17. And they might be the only finisher, actually. We see Bobby on their side and Luna next to them facing the other way. While Steve indeed does get stuck on that first turn once again. But if I saw that correctly, it almost looked like Lando actually popped the ceiling of the waterfall jump up for just a moment as they started heading downhill. And look at these two, it almost seemed like they stopped extremely abruptly. But despite all that happening, Bobby will be moving on alongside Lando. And now for our second group, we have Black Stallion, Wade Whalen, Frank White, and Numero Uno. Let's see if Numero Uno can live up to their name. So far, no, that is Frank out in the lead. While Numero Uno falls to third, at least going into that lane split. Frank looking to hold on to that lead. Can they do so? They head towards that jump. Let's see how they do. Actually, not that bad, but then the front end clips the lane merging piece. And they lose a lot of speed. They almost actually got passed on by the time Numero Uno came around. So Numero Uno almost actually was able to finish in first. But Frank got the nose in front of them just in time to grab the victory. Meanwhile, it looks like we have someone struggling more than Steve did, as they are not even at the first turn. My guess is they got to it, but had so little speed by that point that they ended up just going backwards. Meanwhile, Frank starting to slow down as he got to the finish line. They saw Numero Uno coming and managed to do a well-executed nose block. So Frank is currently in first. Wade Whalen was the one who got stuck up there. Let's see if they can improve on that. Frank back out in front. Numero Uno looking to close that gap. So far unsuccessful. But as the lanes switch around, let's see if that helps them at all. So far that hasn't been the case. But Frank makes the jump pretty clean, actually. But they bounce off the walls a little bit as the lanes merge together. And it looks like Numero Uno was a pinball back there, and they completely got stuck at the lane merger. So they will not finish here. And we still have no sign of Whalen. Let's see where they are. Yet again, it just seems like they can't get through the first turn. Stuck in almost the exact same spot on a different lane. This is definitely not how they want things to go. But maybe they can pull off something totally unexpected in the last two races. Otherwise, their time in this tournament will be extremely short. Black Stallion currently holds second place in points. Numero Uno, however, is not too far behind them. And because of how little points they had, Whalen still technically has a chance, but they need to get going. But I'm not sure if they were able to get around that turn or not. Frank, however, holds on to the lead yet again heading into the waterfall jump. They get across without much of an issue, stay straight, and lose very little speed as they get the first place. Numero Uno does finish this time, but only in third. That is not going to help them in the grand scheme of things. But look at this, Whalen is still making an effort, but they just came to a stop. They at least got further down this time. I think they got around the first two turns, possibly even three. But unfortunately, a non-finish is still a non-finish no matter where it is, as long as it's before the finish line. Even if you're mere centimeters away from where the finish line is, if you don't cross, you're still not going to get any points. So Wade Whalen is pretty much out now. And Frank White, however, has won every single time so far. If they can finish here, they will get a sweep and keep the opportunity alive to be the first person to move on to the next phase of the tournament without losing a single race, but they have to finish in first here. So far they don't have the fastest time. That is still scale racing, I believe. And then make the jump staying close to the middle, which has been smart actually. And they do finish in first. They will be one of the few racers to get a sweep in this tournament. And they still have a shot to be the first undefeated racer in the next part of the tournament. Meanwhile, numero uno, realizing that their time in this tournament is done, they started backing away from the finish line. I personally would have wanted to end on a good, strong finish, but I guess they had different ideas alongside Waylon. Bit of a spin around for Waylon as they got across that jump. And I think that's what ultimately got them to lose enough speed that they couldn't even get up to where numero uno was. Actually, no, I stand corrected. They were almost right next to each other. But Frank White is undefeated for the time being. They're saying Waylon was moving on. But that was actually Black Stallion who's joining it. But now they have to go up against the likes of Lando. Let's see if Frank White can stay undefeated knowing that they have some fast racers hot on their tail. So far, Lando is not making it easy for Frank, but they do currently hold on to the lead as they get towards that waterfall jump. They collide with each other a little bit. It looks like some of them, or at least one of them, lost a piece of their vehicle. We'll have to check the racers for injuries, but I definitely think something popped loose for one of them. Meanwhile, these two racers got stuck right after going around that last turn. Let's see what that is. I believe that's actually the dog that was sitting on the vehicle for Lando. I think it took too many beatings on the ceiling of that jump and came completely disconnected. We're going to have to check with the veterinarians on the track themselves to see if that dog is okay, because that is not where you want to see a dog. As this next race begins, you notice that the dog is staying off the vehicle for now. They're probably checking him over, or her, to see if they're going to be fit to get back on the vehicle for future races. Right now, Lando is looking to avenge their friend as they continue in the race, and they do stay in front, but they spin around as the lanes merge. Frank is trying to find their way around them, could not quite do it, I don't think. So we'll still have no undefeated racers after 7 days of racing. And even after all that, the biggest thing I'm concerned about right now is that dog. I'm pretty sure that was a dog on Lando's vehicle. So we will check with the animal doctors after the tournament today is over. Well, not the tournament itself, but this day of the tournament, to see how that dog is and if we can get them back on the track with their racing companion. Frank White and Lando tied for 8 points apiece now. So let's see who breaks that tie and gets the lead in points. And if they finish in first and second, respectfully, regardless of in which order that is, the other two are pretty much out. Look at Lando now. They seem to be trailing behind Frank for a little bit, but suddenly they gained a burst of speed and got the lead back. And they positioned themselves in such a way that Frank actually nudged them forward. And Frank almost lost second place, but managed to hold on to it. And as a result, Black Stallion and Bobby, I believe that is, are pretty much out of the tournament at this point, unless I have the numbers wrong in terms of overall points. So far, I don't think anyone has been able to break Scale's fastest time either. But Let's check the points one more time. It pretty much is over for Bobby and Black Stallion, unfortunately. But Lando and Frank White seem like they're in great position to move on now. It's just a matter of who is going to finish in front of the other in this last race. Not that it matters too much, because both of them will progress. So far it is Frank out in front, but Lando is not that far back actually, and now they take the lead with a decent burst of speed once more. They stay towards the middle this time, and they are out in front, and Frank could not pass them. Meanwhile, Black Stallion gets very close to the finish line, as well as Bobby, but neither one of them could make it happen. They got very close, but as they say, close but no cigar. But it seemed like they all started going sideways after they landed that jump. But there you have it, 7 full days of races in this tournament. A small handful of sweepers in there, but no one has come out of it undefeated. Lando looking to avenge their friend. Maybe their companion will join them in the next phase of the tournament, but we will have to see. Thank you all so much for watching. See you next time.